starting soon. One request, if we have distractions, we'll try to keep it to a minimum. All right? We may have people entering late, and expect a lot more debaters. Have been practicing for 3 weeks or more. So, good luck, and you guys know the order of things. Okay.
Judges, are you ready? Okay, so first of all, I'd like to thank the judges for coming here tonight. I hope you really enjoy it, and here it goes. So, the Affirmative Constructive Group is in support of closing the borders of America to prevent illegal immigration. According to dictionary.com, an illegal immigrant is a foreigner who enters the U.S. without an entry or immigrant visa. No. Especially a person who crosses the border by avoiding patrol or inspection, or they overstay the period of time allowed as a visitor or tourist. We would now like to point out that if the government left the borders open, drugs could be smuggled into the country freely, specifically through the immigrants that enter. Webster's dictionary says, an immigrant is a person who comes to a country to take up permanent residence. Did you know that in 2011, drug-related deaths went up by 11%? The official number of drug-related deaths this year in the New York Times website currently is 12,903. Drug cartels are a major problem because they can fund money to fight the U.S. Armed Forces. Harvard Law School states that when the United States lets drugs into our country, then drug cartels will be better funded and it will be easier for them to gain control. If this happens, then our government will not be able to stop the violent crimes that happen every day. Smuggling is a huge problem in the U.S., but not only drug smuggling, also human trafficking. I know it's not a major problem, but it still happens. Webster's dictionary, smuggling defined by Webster's dictionary is to import or export secretly, contrary to the law, and especially without paying duties imposed by law. With human trafficking, people's lives are at risk. And according to the University of North Carolina, 12.3 million adults and children around the world have been captured and sold as workers or sex items. Almost 17,500 of the 12.3 million slaves are sold to citizens of the United States. These illegal immigrants, who are desperate to make a living, will turn to criminal acts as a way to make money. In doing so, they attract the attention of gangs, smugglers, and human traffickers. The Justice Department's National Gang Intelligence Center stated that in 2008, Mara Salvatrucha, a gang of Salvadorian immigrants, spread to at least 42 states. Especially with the way the economy is now, the immigrants are either working for less money or turning to criminal acts. The drug cartels gain money because the immigrants that smuggle the drugs will not go to jail. They generally are deported back to their home country instead of being sent to jail. And deportation is the removal of an alien from a country whose presence is unlawful or prejudiced. Washington Times wrote an article about a group of about 160,000 immigrants who came to the U.S. both legally and illegally. Out of the 160,000 immigrants, 60,000 of them were accused of crimes, and in that group, 47,000 of them were repeat criminals. The country neglected to deport a group of 47,000 of immigrants, and from 2008 to 2011, these same illegal immigrants committed a string of even more crimes. Not long after that, another group of 159,286 illegal immigrants that were not deported due to the fact that CSR was under review. According to the Judiciary Committee, that same group of people committed 19 murders, 3 attempted murders, and 142 sex crimes before being deported from the United States. According to Peter Cadle, a graduate from the University of Idaho, nearly 1,400 illegal immigrants enter the U.S. borders each week. Illegal immigration is not only bad for the U.S., but also for the immigrants themselves. When Peter Cadle wrote this article, he talked about a family that had to work with, the mother was a cleaning lady and the father worked in a factory. This family barely made it by without starving. Our country really needs to close because we gain nothing from allowing drugs, human traffickers, and illegal immigrants into our country. According to the New York Times, the drugs we allow into our country will not only make the cartels stronger, and the American people will lose power, not only because of the wealth that the cartels have gained, but also we will have let our people buy and use drugs without stopping. Human trafficking can only grow more if we do not make a stand and close the border. If we do this, we could save thousands of lives, and the benefits we gain from closing the borders far outweigh the losses. Gangs will be weakened because they now cannot attract the attention of immigrants from their home country. And according to an article by Suzanne Gumbo, the reporter for CBS News, the illegal immigrant population is growing. I now stand for cross-examination.
I would like to thank the judges for judging this proceeding in a fair and unbiased manner. I would also like to thank the parents for coming tonight. I would now like to cross the first affirmative constructive speaker. How many legal immigrants are estimated to live in America?
32.7 million.
My sources: Roy Germano, PhD, Brad Knickerbocker, writer of Science Monitor, and Alicia Lee, writer of U.S. in Focus, all say that 12 million immigrants are estimated to live in America. Did you know that closing America's borders is going to raise taxes?
I did know that.
Do you believe legal immigrants take Americans' jobs?
Yes, I do.
According to my sources, Pia Arrhenius, PhD, and Madeline Savodny, PhD, they both say that immigrants work in riskier jobs, and they also do the jobs that Americans don't want to do. Do you think it is true that illegal immigrants create jobs for Americans?
The higher paying jobs, yes, but the jobs that high school dropouts need, I believe that the immigrants are taking those, and they are not being given to the people that have children that drop out of high school because they have a child or couldn't graduate.
Did you know that some illegal immigrants
Yes, I did.
Is it true that immigration boosts earnings for American workers?
No, it actually lowers them.
Okay, well, according to my sources, CIS.org and EPI.org, and how immigration boosts your pay, they all say that immigration boosts earnings for American workers. Did you know that some illegal immigrants develop technology in companies?
I did.
Is it true that some illegal immigrants are our engineers, scientists, and innovators?
It is true.
Is it true that America is a free country?
Well, I'd say that it's mostly free. There is some places that aren't as free as we'd like them to be. In southern United States, that's where, when we researched human trafficking, that's where we found there were the most people that were had slaves. So.
Do you think that people from other cultures are still going to think America is a free country after we close the borders?
I think, yes, actually, I think they do. Because, it doesn't mean that our American people can't leave. They can leave anytime they want, and they can come back because they are citizens of the United States.
Guess how many illegal immigrants, mostly Mexicans, searching for work, died crossing illegally into America last year?
Don't know.
Border Patrol collected 422 immigrants in the last year. Most immigrants die in the desert. I hope the unbiased judges have seen the loopholes in their arguments. Thank you.
judges, worthy opponents, ladies and gentlemen, we, the negative constructive team, would like to challenge the affirmative's definition of the resolution, which is designed to give the affirmative team an unfair advantage. We urge the judges to accept our more reasonable definition of the resolution, which is, America should keep its border policy the same and allow illegal immigrants the possibility to bring innovation to America. We will now define the terms anchor baby and international terrorism. According to the American Heritage Dictionary, the term anchor baby is used as a disparaging term for a child born to a non-citizen mother in a country that grants automatic citizenship to children born on its soil, especially when the child's birthplace is thought to have been chosen in order to help the mother or other relatives' chances of gaining citizenship. And according to the Cornell University Law School, international terrorism is activities that involve violent acts or acts dangerous to human life that are a violation of the criminal laws of the United States or any state, or that would be a criminal violation if committed within the jurisdiction of the United States or any state. Or they also define it as intimidating a civilian population. And Romney said in the second presidential debate, this is a nation of immigrants. Therefore, no one, not even the Pilgrims, has the right to be here. Most of the citizens of this nation came over as illegal immigrants from other continents, mostly Europe. Aren't we a free country? It was free to our ancestors when they came overseas to come here. And they were not turned away by the Native American tribes, so why should we turn immigrants away today? Why can't we agree to keeping the borders open when people cross them illegally and legally daily? Is this country's freedom just a pleasant illusion reserved for us? What gave us the right to be so selfish with this land? Instead of closing the border, we should follow the biblical rule, do to others as you would have them do to you. In other words, if we want other countries and people in them to be good to our country and that sort of stuff, then we should also be nice and allow illegal immigrants and, well, legal immigrants and legal to cross our borders when they're open. And the United States should also give farm workers limited passports so they can come over here and help out on the big farms so that they will not have to let their crops rot or go out of business from lack of workers, like happened in Washington State this year, where they could not find enough legal workers, so they had to let some of their apple crop rot on the tree. And they were offering pay as high as $150 a day to help pick apples. And if border enforcement prevents us from getting enough farm workers and other workers, then why should we close the border? We would have to import more goods, which would be a lot more expensive than growing them or making them ourselves. The national debt is already above $16 trillion. How high would it be if we had to import most of our stuff? It is cheaper, though not as nice, to use illegal immigrants as workers because if they complain about their working conditions or pay, you can turn them in as illegal immigrants that you caught. That's not really ideal. So we think it would be better if we still would use immigrants as workers, but improve the working conditions. And the majority of Mexican immigrants come with their families before finishing high school, and young migrants say that they are fleeing sharply escalating criminal violence in their home countries, and that was Julia Preston, who is a national correspondent covering immigration for the New York Times. What do you think closing the border is about? What do you think closing the border would fix? Most people think that closing the border would keep criminals out of the U.S., and keep jobs for American citizens, not letting Mexicans and other illegal immigrants take all the jobs, and cut off drug importations. Most of the problems would not be fixed by closing the border. And many illegal immigrants are actually elementary age children who've followed their parents who came across the border illegally in search of work. And the American government has spent tens of billions of dollars trying to close the border, but despite that money, people still cross the border every day. And it's sort of a challenge. Can you cross our new border defenses without getting caught? One solution for this problem is not to close the border, it is fix our policies. One way to discourage illegal immigrants from coming to America is to take away the rewards of getting here. One example is birthright citizenship. Families can come across the border and have children so they think it's okay for them to stay. But according to Mark Lacey, the New York Times Phoenix bureau chief, that despite being called anchor babies, the children of illegal immigrants born in the United States cannot actually prevent the deportation of their parents until they reach the age of 21. When the children are able to file paperwork to sponsor their parents for legal immigration status, their parents remain vulnerable until that point. I now stand for cross-examination.
Answer yes or no to these questions. Should the border stay open?
Yes.
Are you okay with illegal immigrants coming into the United States of America?
Yes.
It's not wise to let them in if we don't know why they're coming, according to Jason Howerton from Blaze.com. Is it okay that they don't pay taxes?
No.
We need to know where they're coming from so we can make them pay taxes. Should they be able to be deported?
Yes.
Are you aware that these people are crossing the unsecured borders? Criminals, terrorists, drug dealers, etc.?
Yes.
It is right for our government to close the borders and protect our country. We're not saying that legal immigrants can't come in here. The illegal ones can just get a green card. Did you know that some of the illegal immigrants that come into our country are smuggling drugs, taking our jobs, and or using government resources provided by you, the taxpayers? When you think of illegal immigrants, don't you see them working for a Mexican food trailer, picking farm crops, or Christmas tree cutting?
Not necessarily.
Well, that's what most people think, but are you aware that illegal immigrants are taking better, higher paying jobs, such as carpenters, masons, landscaping, etc.? It would be more beneficial to have citizens of the United States holding these jobs because our unemployment rate is very, very high. Do you know how many American citizens lost their jobs in 2008 and 2009? 2.4 legal and illegal immigrants settled in the United States, and 8.2 million American citizens lost their jobs, according to CIS.org. Do you think legal immigrants are good for the economy?
Yes.
Have you read Economic Costs of Legal and Legal Immigration from CAIRCO.org? Well, it states that illegal and legal immigrants are using up government resources and displacing American citizen workers. Do you realize that illegal immigrants earn about $511 each week, and American citizens only earn about $677 per week? Because illegal immigrants work cheaper than American citizens, they drive wages very, very down. We, the affirmative constructive team, now rest our case.
Judges, ladies and gentlemen, opponents, I'd like to thank you all for coming. Okay, before I start, I'd like to start by giving some vocabulary. Citizen, person who owes allegiance to a nation state is entitled to its protection and exercises rights of membership, such as voting. Under U.S. law, citizens include persons both in the United States or its territories, certain persons born abroad to be U.S. citizen and non-citizens who become citizens through naturalization. Migrant, in the broadest sense, a person who leaves his or her country of origin to seek resistance in another country. Often used in the United States to refer to migrant farm workers and their families who follow the seasonal harvest of crops and employment in agriculture. Receiving country, a country in which immigrants settle. Alternate terms include reviving community, host society, or host community. The Affirmative Construction Group would now like to point out some of the ways that the economy is suffering due to illegal immigrants. In October 2008, according to Jeffrey S. Passell and Guevara Cohan of USA Numbers, the illegal immigrant population stood at only 11.9 million. Now it stands at an extraordinary 32.5 million. If immigration continues at current levels, the nation's population will increase from 301 million today to 468 million in 2060, a 167 million or 56% increase. The United States can't afford more illegal non-tax-paying citizens because the United States is currently in debt by 241,407,386 American dollars, according to David Rogers of the Guardian newspaper. That is just about $67 billion of our total of $16 trillion, and the extra $10 billion a year cost by illegal immigrants isn't helping at all. The illegal immigrants do not pay taxes, yet they reap the benefits. Our hard-earned tax dollars we spend for schools and other governmental projects is being drained by the immigrants and their families. People say that this is the land of opportunity, but those opportunities are being taken away and given to illegal immigrants. In 2009, according to Stephen A. Camerata, Center for Immigration Studies, 57% of households headed by an immigrant with at least one child use at least one welfare program, compared to the 39% of American households also with one child using at least one welfare program. This isn't right because American citizens are paying hard-earned tax dollars and using up less welfare, while illegal immigrants who just happen to not pay any taxes whatsoever, using up more welfare as a whole. One of the greatest negative effects about the illegal immigrants to me and the economy is that they do not pay income tax. Yet they use public restrooms, public parks, public schools, and other basic facilities provided by the government. This drains the economy and creates more debt for the government. The country wealth only increases by less than 1% due to immigration trends, while the government's wealth decreases drastically. The Affirmative Construction Group would now like to point out that our jobs are going to illegal immigrants instead of American citizens. In 2000 through 2010, 1.1 million American citizens lost their jobs due to illegal immigrants. During 2008 and 2009, 2.4 million illegal immigrants settled in the United States, and 8.2 million American citizens' jobs were lost over the same period of time. Also in 2008, 7.7 million illegal immigrants were employed in the U.S. There's an estimated 32.5 million illegal immigrants in the United States currently today. There needs to be stronger borders so that these millions of illegal immigrants do not come in and take all of our jobs. Immigrants should be able to come over if they have a green card, for vacation, or business purposes. When there are more workers, pay goes down and more Americans are at risk of losing their job. Many people think that illegal immigrants only have low-paying jobs that Americans do not want, such as Christmas tree cutting or picking farm crops. The truth is, illegal immigrants are taking higher, better-paying jobs such as carpenters or masons or landscaping, etc. If illegal immigrants go on strike for more pay, sometimes factory owners will threaten to turn them in and they will be deported. So far, this year, more than 11,000 unaccompanied, which means no lawyer, minors have been deported. To conclude our point, the Affirmative Construction team would like to say that if we keep letting immigrants into our country, not only are we going to suffer, but the legal and illegal immigrants are going to suffer, including the native people of America. Now I stand for cross-examination.
Thank you, judges, parents, fellow students, and the second Affirmative Constructive speaker for coming tonight. I would now like to pass to Mr. Fifield. Mr. Fifield, please answer yes, no, or I don't know, unless instructed otherwise. Question 1. Would closing America's borders solve America's job problem?
Mostly, not completely, but it would help.
My source, Balliol.edu, says that actually most immigrants do the really dangerous jobs that Americans don't want to do. Next question. Opening the borders will save a lot of illegal immigrants' lives, right?
Sure.
Next question. Closing America's borders will cost a lot of money, right?
Yes.
Next question. Do you know how much closing the borders will cost?
Not exactly, no.
My sources, csmueller.com, bloomberg.com, and newyorktimes.com, so they would all add up to $13 billion. Next question. Do you think that closing America's borders is worth $13 million?
Yes, it is.
Okay, next. By closing America's borders, are we generating income or are we producing more national debt? Please answer in a full sentence.
We are increasing income because closing our borders will stop illegal immigrants from coming in, and illegal immigrants cost more than $10 billion a year.
So the government is going to raise our taxes?
They might.
Okay. Do you know how much we're already in debt?
16,066,427,000, a little bit over that. What?
My source U.S. Debt Clock says on November 6th, our nation is in debt $16,237,278 American dollars and is rising every second. Do you think that putting ourselves in more debt is smart?
No.
Okay, then how are we going to pay for this new program then?
Well,
For example, taxes cut programs, existing tax revenues of funds.
if there's no legal immigrants, then the $10 billion a year would stop coming, and the $13 billion would, well, the government they're in debt, but they could still pay for it.
How are they going to pay for it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I hope the unbiased judges have seen the loopholes in the argument. Thank you.
Honorable judges, worthy opponents, ladies and gentlemen, we, the negative, challenge the affirmative side's definition of the resolution, which is designed to give the affirmative an unfair advantage. We urge the judges to accept our more reasonable definition. America should keep its border policy the same and allow illegal immigrants the possibility to bring innovation to America. ImmigrationAssist.co defines immigrants as a citizen from a different country who enters another country to set up permanent residence. UnitedStatesLegal.com defines illegal immigrants as a person who has entered the country without official authorization. We define American citizen from the Department of Health and Human Services as an individual granted citizenship status by Immigration and Naturalization Services if they are from out of the country, and individuals born in the United States who have American citizen parents. Apart from the definitions, the negative team is unable to accept the contentions put forward by the first affirmative. Their contentions are logical because, in general, illegal immigrants help the American economy. The negative has 5 contentions. I will begin my case with these 5 contentions. Hiring immigrants helps offshore workers. Immigrants fill in at low-skilled jobs. Latin American and Caribbean immigrants decreased by 22%, and this did not affect the American economy. Americans make money from immigrants. Small businesses ran by immigrants employ many people. And now, without further ado, it is time to take down the borders closing away America. CNN News says that on April 23, 2012,
Pew Hispanic Center found that 1.4 million illegal immigrants came to America from Mexico during 2005 to 2010. This is the same amount of immigrants that went back to Mexico with their children at the same time. This leads me to assume that Mexicans overpopulating America is not a problem. In a New York Times article published October 30th, 2010, two economic professors, Gianmarco I.P. Ottavani of Bocconi University in Italy and Giovanni Piri of the University of California, Davis, along with Greg C. Wright, a PhD candidate at Davis, have found that immigrants in fact create more jobs for America. This study proves that when companies move production offshore, they lose many jobs. But hiring immigrants helps many kinds of jobs in the United States. So immigrants may be competing with offshore workers more than with laborers in America. Immigrants have other ways of helping with jobs also. Papers by Professor Perry state that immigrants fill in gaps at low-skilled jobs and enhance domestic businesses instead of making them worse. And as the immigrants take on the lower-class jobs, the native ones will be their supervisors. And as the immigrants help jobs here, they also promote the United States business networks with good links to other countries such as India and Brazil, creating more jobs. According to a Pew study from the Pew Research Center, what seems to be isn't always what is. From 2007 to 2009, the number of Latin American and Caribbean immigrants decreased by 22%, and this did not affect the American economy. Pew studies by Jeffrey Passell, a senior demographer at the Pew Hispanic Center, and Dio Veracon, a senior writer at the Pew Research Center, state that when immigrants and illegal immigrants come to the United States, they buy food from Americans. This way, Americans make money and immigrants get food. This cycle also works for any other things that immigrants buy from America, such as cars and living spaces. Although I said that immigrants fill in gaps at low-skilled jobs, they sometimes move on to bigger things such as small businesses. In June of 2012, a study published by the Fiscal Policy Institute states that 18% of small business owners in the United States are immigrants. This is a surprisingly large amount considering that they make up only a fraction of the United States population. If there's only 18% of if there are only 18% of immigrants in the United States and only a fraction are small business owners, half of these people half of these people are immigrants, and they have employed 4.7 million people. In conclusion, I have begun the negative case by clashing with the affirmative case and making five contentions. To remind you of these contentions, they are: hiring immigrants helps offshore workers. Immigrants fill in at low-skilled jobs. Latin American and Caribbean immigrants decreased by 22%, and this did not affect the American economy. Americans make money from immigrants. Small businesses ran by immigrants employ many people. Therefore, we, the negative side, disagree with the affirmative and would like to conclude that opening the borders of America is the better choice. I'm sure the judges will agree that their case must fall. I now stand for cross-examination.
Thank you for coming, everyone. Please answer all these questions with yes or no only. Yes or no, do you think it's okay for illegal immigrants to take our jobs?
No.
Then yes or no, should we stop them from taking our jobs?
I believe that they're not taking their jobs.
Question. Do you think we should try to stop illegal immigrants from being allowed entry into the USA? Okay, yes or no, do you think drug and human trafficking is okay?
No.
Then my point is proven. If the borders stay open, drug and human traffickers will be able to enter our country. I'm not saying all illegal immigrants are drug smugglers, but the ones who are can enter, contaminate, and injure American citizens in the American society. According to msnbc.msn.com, the government has found a remote desert area where an estimated $10 billion of drugs has been smuggled across the border. Also, did you know that according to Gun Victims Action Network, that approximately 12,000 annual gun murders and 66,000 non-fatal shootings are committed by people who have no legal right to a gun? The things that they bring across the border, whether they are drugs or weapons, are very dangerous. It can cause injury or disease for the American citizens. Yes or no, do you think America should be responsible for educating illegal immigrants?
No.
I agree. If they wanted an education from America, they should get a green card so they would be legal. Yes or no, do you think the process of getting a green card is difficult? Okay, well, it's not that difficult. The only reason that people think it's slightly difficult is because there are many people that want to get a green card, so it takes a long time. Yes or no, do you support human trafficking? I agree with you. Illegal immigrants are causing many problems for our country. We defend the team rest.
We'll be having a 10-minute break. You can go and look at the other debates, but you need to be quiet because there might still be debates going. Come back in 8 minutes because they're having time to get